Now, I just want to pop in and let you know that when you change your yarn every time, I want you to cut your yarn. So you'll end up with these tails. Don't make them real long because they've already got a knot in them, so they'll be fine. And here's what mine's looking like. But also, I wanted to let you know that when you get to the end of, like I just ended the red row, so your instinct would be to just connect your yarn here, but I want you to flip it back over to the front every time. I put a little piece of yarn there just to let me know that's the front. I didn't have a stitch marker when I was working on it, so I know this is the front. So that's what I want you to do every time you get to the end of your row. Just flip it back over and start from the same side. That way you don't have any tails on this side, you just have tails on one side, and we'll take care of those later. Okay? Hello and welcome to Needful Things Again. Today we're going to do a really fun project with crochet and weaving. I've been doing a lot of weaving crochet lately. I have this 1 pound of love from Lion Brand in like a deeper red than it looks in that picture actually. And then I have gray, 1 pound of something. I don't know, but it's a pound, 16 ounces. So you're going to need a darning needle, maybe not. You will need this pin, a safety pin. I'm using 2 hooks. This one is a 9 or an I, which is like 5.5, almost a 6 millimeter. And this is a 6 or a G. They're both Susan Bates. We'll start with the small one first. And of course scissors. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with, you're going to have 2 colors, A and B. Gray is my A color, so I'm starting with that. B is my red color, and we're just going to start by making a slip knot. And chain your stitches, don't do really tight chains on this. So we're going to do 45 chains. And there's 45. Now we're going to yarn over, and we're going to count back from this first chain here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And number 6, we're going to do a double crochet. Chain 2. Skip 2. 1, 2. In the next one, do a double crochet. Chain 2. Skip 2, 1, 2. In the next one, do a double crochet, and that's what we're going to do all the way across. 1, 2, into the third one. Double crochet. 1, 2 chains. Skip 2, 1, 2, into the third one. Do a double crochet. And we're making our foundation for our crochet weaving, because this is going to be another weaving technique. So we're making little cages, and this will be our foundation for our piece. Chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, double crochet in the next one, chain 2, 1, 2, go into the third one. Whoops, she don't want to go in there. Chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, go into the third one. And you'll do this till you get all the way across the end, making this cage. I got a little piece of yarn stuck there. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to finish up and get to the end, and I'll show you how we end it. Okay, so we're at the end of the row. I've chained 2. We're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and in the very last chain, our third one, we'll do our last double crochet. And this is what we've created. Our little space across here. This is just our little cage, and that's what we're going to do. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 little spaces. Then at the end of that row, we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to turn our work, yarn over, and skip to the double crochet. And on top of that double crochet, we're just going to simply do a double crochet there. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, move over to our next double crochet and do a chain there, just like that, chain 2, move over to the double crochet on top of the previous double crochet, and we're creating this little cage here, you see? So complete that across the row, and I'll catch up with you at the end, okay? Okay, so now we're at the end of our second row. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to put my last couple of stitches in. We're going to chain 2. This is where we did the chain 5, so we have 3 stitches and 2 up here. We're going to skip these first 2, you see? 1, 2, 1, 2, and we're going to go into the third chain, and that's where we're going to put our double crochet. Whoops. Guess I better yarn over. Our last double crochet will go into that third chain right there at the top. So you have the 1, 2 where you skip, and then the third chain, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and so now we're going to change colors because we're going to do 2 rows of our A color, which for me is gray, 2 rows of your B color, which for me is the reddish color. So we're going to do 2 rows gray, 2 rows of that, and this is what it's going to look like. We're just making this cage base to do our weaving in. So we're going to do 2 rows of one color, then switch to the next color. And if you see, I put a little, I just tied a piece of yarn. You can use a stitch marker if you want to indicate to me that's my front, because as you'll notice, there's no strings on this side, but there are yarn tails on this side. Don't worry about those. We'll get rid of those later with the edging, or either you can sew them in if you don't want to do an edging later. So what we're going to do is, to get only strings on one side, is we're going to, and I want my work to be facing me, so we're going to cut the yarn and simply secure it at the end right there. Now we're going to turn our piece back over to the front. And we're always, when we finish our second row, we're always going to turn our piece back over to the front. That's why I wanted you to put a stitch marker so you know that you were on the front. So you'll remember to turn it every time, because you don't want a bunch of strings on both sides. They're easy to get rid of on one side. So now what we're going to do for our second color to continue is quite simple. We're just going to make a little slip knot, and then we're going to go into that very first stitch right there, put on your and hold, keep hold of this tail here, because you don't want the knot to come through your stitch. Slowly pull it through, don't pull the knot through, and then simply chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to push your tails over that way, go over to your first one, do a double crochet in the top of the previous one, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and we're going to do this all the way across. Just like we did on the first two previous rows, we're going to do the same thing. Just zoom across there. This part happens really quickly. So you can make your scarf as long as you want to. I usually do them about 5 or 6 feet long. So that's up to you. Okay. Let's see, we're almost to the end of this row. We're getting there. It's a lot. I really enjoy doing this. It's a pattern that's a lot of fun. And it does come together pretty quickly, actually, once you get going. Now you have to make sure that your initial foundation row is exactly perfect, because there's no room for error. It just won't look right. So we're at the end where our chain 5 is, and we have 1, 2, and we're going to go in that third stitch, that chain, and do a double crochet to end the row. Okay, and remember we're doing 2 rows of each color. So now at the end of this row, we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go into the second double crochet there, and do the same thing, 1, 2. And when we get to the end of this row, we'll cut the yarn, secure it, and flip our project back over to the front to reconnect with our other color yarn. Don't forget to flip it, or you'll end up with strings on both sides, and you don't want that. That might overwhelm you. But if you do an edging down the side, which we probably will do, it'll just encapsulate any ends that you might have sticking out. Or you, like I said, if you don't want to do that, you can just take a darning needle and sew in all your tails. That might drive you crazy though, so I think an edging would be a lot easier, because it'll just crochet in those tails at the same time, and anything that's sticking out, you can just give it a little snip snip, because they're already secure. So it's basically just about getting rid of them, you know what I mean? So I'm almost to the end here on my second row, because I want to show you what happens then. So I'm just going to keep moving along here to the end. We get to our last stitch. We're down to the end. We're going to do chain 2. We have our 5 chains there, so yarn over, 1, 2, and in the third chain we're going to do our double crochet, and that ends that row, right? Yep, that's what happens. Then you're just going to cut your yarn. You don't have to leave a long tail there. And secure it like that. Flip it over. We're back on the front of our work now, and you see we don't have any tails over here. We just have them over here. Now what you can do here is, if you feel a little insecure, I don't think that's really going anywhere, but if you want to, you can just take them and give them a very soft knot there. Don't pull it tight or anything, just give them a little soft knot, and that'll for sure make sure they're not going anywhere, and we'll crochet them in later. Okay, so now you would just go back into your beginning stitch here, come through, start your next row, put your slip stitch in there, put it on your hook, pull it in, but don't tighten it too tight. Grab that tail, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and go into that first double crochet. Do your double crochets, chain 2, double crochet, and that's how we're making our cage. And so you'll continue, and every row you'll change color, so you'll have 2 rows of each color. Okay, so when you get to that point, here's what it should be looking like. I'm making a scarf, as I told you, so here's what your foundation should be looking like. This. My red is much prettier, I think, than it's showing up on camera. I'm not sure. So right now it's about almost 10 inches wide. Not quite, but almost. About 9.5 inches. So later on, like I said, we'll do something on the side, and you'll see what happens to our project. It's a lot of fun though, so keep doing it. Make your foundation. Remember to, when you get to the end of your row here and you secure your yarn, remember to flip over back to the front, because we always want to connect our yarn from the front side of our work so that we don't end up with anything over here to deal with. Okay? And if you want to, and you don't want to deal with any of this, and you don't trust this, I mean, there's no reason not to, but you can also carry your yarn. The reason I don't like to carry my yarn is because I think it just makes it really unattractive on the side. I'd rather just put a finish there than to have that, because you're going to carry a thread, like, you know, from here all the way to here, and this just, to me, is not pretty, so I don't like that. So this eliminates that. So continue making it till you get your scarf as long as you'd like to, and then I'll come back and show you what the next part of our project is going to be. So continue working, and I'll catch up with you when we're ready for our next part of our project, and I'll show you how long I've done mine. Okay? Now I'm showing you this here on a different table because I wanted to lay down the piece. So here's my complete cage piece laid down, and as you can see, I've measured it out. Mine is about 71 inches. And make sure that you end your piece, you start on your A color, and when you get to the other end of your piece, you end on your A color. So you begin and start with the same color. Mine ended up to be about, I think I have about 60 inches it was. And so, it's about 60 inches. And you want 5 inches overhang of your strips on either end. So I did my pieces about 70 inches long, 71 inches, something like that, to get 5 inches overhang on the end. So what we're going to do now is make these chain pieces here that you see. And we have 14 spaces to put them through on our piece, on our cage. And each one, like the first one, you'll do 2 colors. 1 gray, 2 gray, 2 red, 2 gray, 2 red, 2 gray. So you'll need 14 strips. They're just chains. Make loose chains. Keep your tension loose. And mine are 250 chains on each one. So I counted them so I wouldn't have to continue to measure it. So they're all the same length. And I suggest you do the same thing. And then after we get all these done, I have 2 more to make. We'll start weaving them in, and I'll show you how to do that to get the pattern that we want to achieve. Because there is a certain way you have to do it. So we'll start putting, you know, our pieces will start, of course, with our A color, then our B, then our A, then our B, then our A, and we'll finish. So you'll have however many you need. There's going to be 2 gray, 14 altogether, so you'll start with A and B and you'll finish with gray on the other side over here. We'll finish with gray, if that makes sense. And we'll just intermingle them all the way across until we get to the last 2, and they'll be gray and red and gray and red and gray and red and gray. So, you know, you'll start like that, gray, red, gray, red, gray, red, gray, red, gray, and you'll end on gray. There's 14, you need to make 14 of these. So, I'll tell you how many to make in just a second. I've got 2 more gray to make, so I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I have to make 8 red. I'm not sure, but you'll figure it out. I'll show you. So we're going to make 8 of our A color and 6 of our B color, I believe is what the actual number is. So that's what we're going to do there, and I'll show you how we're going to weave them in, okay? And also, I wanted to remind you, when you start making your chains for your weaving, we're going to switch to our 5.5 hook. Or you can use a J if you don't have a 5.5. That's totally up to you. Okay? So you switch to your larger hook of the 2 that we're using. And I've laid them out. I have 2 left to make, which are the last 2 gray ones, because I started with gray up here. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how they're laid out and how many you're going to need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gray ones, or your A color. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your B color. Okay, and we're going to need that to get our weaving on. So I just want you to show you how I'm laying it out here on the table. And I'm going to work on the long table when I start weaving. Now I didn't show you how I made the chain strips because all it is a chain. It's just making a chain. That's all it is. So, I mean, right here it is. You just make a chain. So I didn't show you that, but I told you how many stitches I did for the size I was making. So I just wanted you to see how they're laid out on the piece because that's how we're going to be weaving them in. So you can see that. We're going to do 2 colors. So we're going to do 2 strips of each color across. And there's 14 chain strips. I'm calling them strips. I don't know what else to call these chain things. They're chain strips. So I just laid them out so you can see how we're going to be weaving them in. Each one is going to be 2 rows of the same color. When we start over here on this edge, we're going to start underneath and bring it in from underneath on the first one. So we'll come up through here, and then on the second one we'll just go under from the top, and we'll just keep doing that all the way across. You know, going from the bottom, going from the top, going from the bottom, going from the top, all the way across our piece. And I'll show you that as I start weaving it in so you can see that. But I just wanted you to see the strips laid out. So now that we have all our pieces together and made, we have our cage done, we have our chain strips done. I'm going to take them off. I'm going to keep them in pairs. Because we're going to do 2 colors at a time. There's only 14 of them, but it seems like there's a million. Okay, so here's the first 2. We just need 1. Put that one over there. Now your pin comes in handy. You have to have a safety pin. And I'm going to put it in just through the front of my chains because you want to keep these chains facing up. Well, I think I want make sure all your chains are going in the same direction, and I'm just going to do mine with the V's pointing towards me like this, and put my pin in here. And remember that we have 5 inches that overhang on either end. Okay. So now in our cage, we're just going to go in underneath. The first one goes underneath like that. And then the next one will go on top, and it'll rotate across the alternate, I guess is a better word. And then we just go under. We're going over this one, under, over, under, over, and that's what we're going to do all the way across our piece. Just weaving it in. And it's very easy to put it in the wrong one because I've done it and had to take the whole thing out, but it's not a big deal because you're not tying it off. So if you make a mistake, you just pull it out and redo it. But keep your V's turned around the right way. I like mine facing me. Well, you know what? Let me take this out because I'm not on the right side of my work. Let me get back down here. Because we start on the side with the strings. Sorry about that. Everybody can make a mistake. Okay, so here we are. We're back. We're underneath. I want to keep my chains facing me. Sometimes you'll have to turn them. Start underneath, over, under, over, under, over, under, and you're just weaving it through. Don't worry about your strings. We'll get rid of those later. And that's why the pen is very helpful for this. And keep your little V's turned over the right way. They'll get twisted if you're not paying attention to them. But you see what we're doing, and we'll do two of the same color. We're starting with our A color, just like we started our piece. Keep those strings out of the way, the extra yarn there, because we're going to get rid of those. Sometimes they pop through. And you get the gist of that, and so you'll do the whole long piece. And when you get to the end down here, you don't forget to, you have to leave, I left 5 inches for my piece on the end that we leave. So I might... So about 5 inches is what I'm leaving on both ends. Every time you weave in a piece, you'll leave 5 inches there. And so just keep pulling your weaving through until you get all the way to the end. And then the next row, after I get this one done, I'll come back and show you how to start the second row. It'll be the same color. We're still working on our color A. Okay. And you don't have to deal with those tails anymore after the first row. And we're going to get rid of those later. Okay, so continue putting your first one in, and I will meet you up to start the second one. Okay, so now I'm ready to start on my next one. I'm going to make sure my little V chain stitches are going in the same direction. For me, that's this way. Put my pen in there. And one thing I'll tell you, I'll give you a little tip that helps me, is when I measure this, my 5 inches here, so now I don't have to, I'll just make it the same. And then I put a stitch marker on each one so it doesn't move, and I do that on both ends, right here, and on the other end as well. Because you need to stretch it out to make sure it's all even in there. You know, because all bunched up like this, you can't tell. So after you get it in, you stretch it all out, make sure it's all laying properly. So then on the next one for this side is the same color, our color A. And this one we started underneath, so this one we're starting on the top, going in from the top like that. And we're just doing the same thing. We just started on the top instead of the underneath side. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one up. That's about 5 inches. And then I'm just going to take a little and go through the both parts so they stay held together. Just like that, so it doesn't move as I'm working on it. That way it stays put. And then we just continue with our weaving. Same as before, where I did over, under, over, under. So we'll do 2 of this color. And then on the next one, we'll switch to our red color. Me, it's red. Whatever your other color was. You'll switch to your B color on the next one here. And we'll do 2 of those. Me, it's red. I'll do 2 reds here. And since I started this row on the top, I'll start the next one from underneath from the bottom. Does that make sense? And that's all there is to it. And you'll just put your chain strips in all the way across. And then I'll show you what we're going to do on the side. Okay? So I'm going to get these in and show you what it looks like. And don't yank them or pull them really tight. You don't want to make it like a tight anything. Okay. So I'm going to continue to work mine, and I'll come back and show you, and you'll see what the pattern is as you go along. You can probably tell now what it is. I'm not sure, but you will as it materializes in front of you. So I'll catch back up with you when I have a few more in. So as you can see here, I've done a few rows now. So I've done 2 of my A, 2 of my B, and you can kind of see what's coming together here. It's like a houndstooth pattern. So continue to do that across. And you should be getting this houndstooth pattern in there, okay? So that's what mine's looking like. And I'm going to continue working on it, and I've put my stitch markers in to keep my fringes even, so I don't have to do much pulling later. Okay? So keep weaving your pieces in, and I'll check back with you soon. So as you can see here, I've almost completed my weaving part, and you can see now that the pattern is a really giant like houndstooth print, which it's one of my favorite prints ever, always has been. So that's what we're coming out with in this pattern. So I have 1 more red and 2 more gray to do. And then I'll be done with this part, and then we're going to do the side. And I like to stretch it as I'm working on it because, as I told you earlier, I put a stitch marker to hold every one of these fringes in place so that they don't, you know, get to moving around. I do it on both ends. And I work it this way. This is just the string telling me that's the front, like I don't know, I can tell. So yeah. And then I lay it out, and this one was underneath. So this one goes in on the top. It's very relaxing to do this. I hope I don't get out of control with this technique and just won't be able to stop. It's so much fun. And then I just, I pull my, because you don't want to pull a long piece from way up there and have it all scrunched up and gather up your work. So then it'll mess up your other ones. And then I have these like hanging straight down at the bottom. And I say, okay, we need to pull that a little bit more. A little bit more right there. And I'm out of my regular stitch markers, so I have to use these now. These are really, they do make noise. But I need a stitch marker in there, so. Because that way it holds it in place and you don't have to deal with it moving around and shifting while you're working on it. And then I'll do the same thing when I get to the other end, And then I'll just keep weaving it through. And then I'll just pull these down on the other end. You see I have the same, I have them connected. And I'll give it a little stretch out. And then I'll just pull this up so it's the same as the rest of them. Take my pen out. Then I'll get a stitch marker. And put through both layers so it doesn't pull. And then I just give it, I like to work it out because the string is the right size. You're thinking, oh God, it's too long, but it's not. By the time we do this and get to the end, it will be completely disappeared. And pull it like right in front of where that loop lands, and it'll get smaller and smaller. And then give it a little stretch. And see, it doesn't come out on this end because we put our stitch marker in, so everything stays correct. And then that's how I do it. And so I have two more. I have two gray ones to put in. And then I'll be done with my weaving part, and I'm going to come back and show you what we're going to do up the side. Which gives it, because I like to give it a nice, it has an okay edge if you want to just, if you carried your yarn, or if you want to just take your darning needle and sew these in and get rid of them. But I don't want to do that, so I'm going to put an edge down it, which finishes it off nicely on both sides. So I'm going to get these two gray ones in. And when I'm done, I'll come back and show you what we're going to do on the side. This one started on the top, so this one comes up from the bottom. I'm going to get these down so I sort of keep them as best close to the same length as possible. They may not be perfectly the same, but that's okay. It's a little bit more. Stitch marker. Okay. And then I'll just feed those through just like I did the other ones. And when I get it done, I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do on our edging. Okay, so now what we're going to do is do a little stitch across the bottom, both ends, so that it holds our fringe in place. You could not do that, but I tend to like it better when I do that. I don't like it moving. So I'm going to measure 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is overkill, but I'd rather have more than not enough. And I'm going to thread it through my darning needle. And we're going to come over to the side here. I'm using my A color because that's most predominant at the bottom. And we're just going to go over here to where our corner piece is. And because that is a corner, we have 2 chains. There's a chain here, 1 and 2. I'm just going to that second one, because that makes our corner more square, and we're also going to put something else in there in just a few minutes. So I'm just going to rustically tie this on, just like that. Don't worry about that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that you keep all your pieces level as possible, and keep checking them as you stitch across, because they do tend, like, you might want to pull that down a little bit and then stitch it, pull it down, stitch it a little bit. Not pull it tight, but you know what I mean. So we're going to take out this stitch marker. I'm just going to go through the fringe piece, and I'm going to go right into the next the loop that corresponds with it on the top, and just stitch the 2 together so that it doesn't move like that. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do all the way across this row, and that'll keep it held in place. And I'm just going to go in the chains that we've already have there, so it's not like you're looking for stitches. I'm just going in the chains that go across the bottom. You know, the stitches. Take out my marker. Just make sure you catch both pieces. Don't be pulling anything tight, like, you know, just be loose. Don't be real tight. And so that's what we've done, and that'll just keep them intact, so you don't have to worry about them, you know, shifting and moving around and pulling out from where they're supposed to be in your scarf. And then we're going to do something else on the edge here to finish that off, so we'll do that in a minute. Yeah, so if you want to, you have enough thread, you can zoom right through there again and finish it off a little bit more if you want to. And if you do, you would just continue doing the same thing. And it just will, you know, give it a little more strength, a little more structure. Because now you can actually pick it up and just sort of sew across there, because you already have it sewn in place. And just like before, I'm just going through the stitches. I'm not going anywhere there isn't a stitch. And that will be done on the bottom, and you'll do the same thing on the other end. And I'll just keep everything lovely and in place. Nice corners. And then we're going to do our edging. And we'll take care of these strings here later. Okay. So do that on both ends. And get your weaving done. Do your strip, your sewing across the bottom. And the other end as well. And I'll meet back up with you and we'll do the little zippy thing we're going up the side. It's very quick and just up and down. That's it. So we'll get that done in just a moment. And get that done. I'll catch back up with you, okay? Hope you're having fun. Okay, so I did this, the trim, the edge we're going to do on the other side. And I'm using a brioche crochet stitch. So if you know how to do that, if not, I'll show you. And I did that side so you can see what we're going to do. we'll chain, and then we'll connect the chain and do the stitch. And do it from the front of your work, so you'll go up. I saved the side with all the tails so that you could see what I do there. This is the side that didn't have tails, so I just went ahead and did that so you could see what it looks like. So, okay, that's what we're going to do. Gather it all up. I'm going to use my B color, which for me is the red color. And I'm going to use my G size Susan Bates hook. And we're just going to make a little tail, which we'll probably end up trimming at some point. And keep your tension not loosey-goosey, but you know, don't have really tight tension. I just chained 18. I think that might be, I might need a little more. 18, 19, 20, 21 maybe. Okay, I think 20 was good, so we'll take one out. And then with our chain on the hook, we're just going to pick up our work on that corner where we started around there. Go through that very first stitch. Pull your tails up this way. Grab your working yarn. Where did it go? My working yarn has disappeared. Grab your working yarn. Get your... Make sure you don't have any of these caught up. And put your hook through that stitch with your chain on there. Pull through. Slip stitch into there and chain one. And now as we go down the row, you'll grab your little tails here and work down. If any poke out, we'll just snip them off later. So yarn over. In each space, we're going to do 2 of these brioche stitches, okay? So we'll yarn over, go into our first space here, that's here. Pull up a loop and pull it through the 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over. Go through the space, pull up a loop, pull it through the 2 on the hook. That's how you do the brioche stitch if you don't know. Okay? And so like I said, in each space, we're going to put 2 of those stitches. That's what we did, 2 stitches in each space. Okay, and grab your tails as you go down. Yarn over, you have 2 on the hook, pull up a loop, pull it through the 2 loops. Sometimes in the beginning you have to hold it a little bit, and don't make them really tight, because that's going to be ugly. It needs to be a little bit relaxed. Not loosey-goosey, but a little bit relaxed. And see if a tail pops out, we'll trim those off. Just try your best to get them in there, and if you don't, it's no big deal. We'll cut them. So in each space, we're going to do 2 of those brioche stitches. The other side is way easier because you don't have to worry about the tails. But it's not that big a deal. And that's what we're doing. You see, we're putting 2 in each space. Just like that. And it's going to go down the side and it'll end up looking like this. So continue on. Yarn over, go on the next space. Pull up a loop. Pull it through the 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over. We're still working in that space. Just like that. And just continue down the row. And I'll do a little bit here. I'll sit here and do some so you can watch. Whoops, I keep wanting to make a double crochet. Whoops. And that's all I'm doing is just going down that. I try to catch them, but I'm not breaking my neck to catch them, if that makes sense. Because I will be cutting a lot of them off. Because they're already fastened in, they're not going anywhere. Okay, so I think you understand what we're doing. So I'm going to finish up this side and I will come back and show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so our piece is all done. We have our edging on the side, and you see how much nicer finish that makes it look? It just gives it a whole different look, and I really like that. And then on the fringes, I've just went through and pulled them tight so they don't unravel, and then trimmed them up all the way where I wanted them. And I trimmed off any of the pieces that I didn't catch. I just trim them off. Seem to have gotten most of them. And we have our trim on both sides, and so everything is looking nice for our scarf. Our beautiful woven scarf. Isn't that gorgeous? It is. I can't wait to wear it. It's so much fun doing this woven crochet stuff. I really like it. So there you have it. Hope you enjoy this pattern.